no compromise was possible. Within a few months, Frelimo's first president, Eduardo Mondlane, was assassinated by Portuguese agents. But into his place stepped his closest supporter, the Frelimo commander, Samora Machel.
A nossa guerra era popular, não? Concessão. Primeiro é preciso ter uma concessão clara, política. Uma concessão clara, política. Para poder conceber a política do inimigo. Conceber os objetivos do inimigo. E para poder avaliar corretamente a força do inimigo. Sem esta compreensão política, em primeiro lugar, não é possível fazer uma estratégia correta.
Viva Frelimo! Viva!
For Samora, the starting point of analysis was always political, but he quickly revealed himself to be a first-rate commander in the field and a brilliant strategist.
Definimos Tete como o ponto central, a província vital para o desenvolvimento da luta de libertação de Moçambique. Considerávamos Tete o dorso do camelo. Entende o dorso do camelo?
Camel's back.
Dorso de camelo. É ali o ponto decisivo, o ponto nevrálgico. Então definimos o Tete. E é assim que nós fizemos o documento em 1970. Compreender e assumir a Batalha de Tete. E por quê? Tete fazia fronteira com Manica e Sofala, onde havia maior implantação de colonos. Onde era o centro de desdobramento das forças do inimigo. Portanto, nós decidimos, é preciso plantar no estômago do inimigo os germes que provocam cancro.
Samora's problem was to push the war from the north into the south. His forces in the liberated zones faced the solid bulk of the Portuguese army, barring the way. So, by way of a new supply line, he thrust guerrilla units south through the province of Tete, cutting into the enemy's communications.
É como que luta de boxe, não? É? A esquerda sempre prepara condições, não é verdade? Mas a direita para ser demolidor. Entende? É? A direita conservada como demolidor. E é assim que nós infiltramos as nossas forças, atravessar o Zambeze, abrir a frente de Manica e Sofala e operar a retaguarda do inimigo, para não ter a logística. Era preciso destruir a logística do inimigo, a retaguarda do inimigo, nas linhas interiores do inimigo.
Not even ruthless airstrikes could help the arrogant Portuguese commander, General Causa de Arriaga. He told his officers that the black people are the least intelligent of all the peoples in the world and could never win the war. But Frelimo had proved him singularly wrong, and now his outmaneuvered troops hit blindly at the civilian population. These liberation wars were long and painful. Every kind of military devilry was unleashed upon the liberation movements by the Portuguese colonial armies, which were also, of course, fascist armies, in order to break their spirit and divide them from their crucial base in popular support. Here was Wiriamu, scene of one of the worst acts of Portuguese militarist terror, when in 1972, a whole village, more than 400 people, was wiped out in a vain attempt to hold up the advance of Frelimo's liberation fighters. This empty place today is a grim reminder of the price that had to be paid to end the enormities of colonial rule. In 1975, Portugal's empire in Africa was finally destroyed, and with it fell the Portuguese dictatorship. As many as 500,000 Portuguese settlers hastily departed, spurning appeals that they should stay to help rebuild the newly independent countries. A colossal pile of wrecked military transport was left to mark the graveyard of the Portuguese war machine. Nothing anywhere, perhaps, could better illustrate the waste and futility of these Portuguese wars, fought so long and hard against every pleading of good sense, and at such a cost to the people of Portugal as well as to peoples in Africa. Across the border in Rhodesia were 250,000 white people of mainly British stock, for whom this prosperous land with its pleasant climate was home. They were just as determined not to see their comfortable existence undermined. For years, the leaders of the large black majority worked for political progress by peaceful means. Those who stepped outside the rules as laid down by the whites might find themselves in detention without the benefit of a trial. But others would step forward, form parties, and press for change, all according to the constitutional game. In 1965, the white minority leader Ian Smith tore up those rules when he declared a unilateral independence aimed at preventing any sharing of power with the blacks.
How long, in your opinion, will it be before
laid down by the whites might find themselves in detention without the benefit of a trial? But others would step forward, form parties, and press for change, all according to the constitutional game. In 1965, the white minority leader Ian Smith tore up those rules when he declared a unilateral independence aimed at preventing any sharing of power with the blacks.
How long, in your opinion, will it be before Rhodesia has one man, one vote, and whatever government that produces?
I hope never. I hope we never degenerate to that sort of thing, which is a counting of heads like counting of sheep. I think government is a very important thing. I think it's a great responsibility to have a vote. And if one wants to maintain high standards and maintain our Western civilization, then I believe we've got to maintain our standards. I would rather see the standards raised in Rhodesia than lowered.
Maintaining standards, in the view of Ian Smith, meant a rebellion against Britain in order to ensure that the black majority should never be able to raise its own standards to those of the white population, as he himself boasted, not for 1,000 years. Looking back today, the first black Prime Minister, Robert Mugabe, explains why, in reality, the power of the gun was now all that could count.
UDI was based on military strength. There is nothing that we could do in those circumstances unless we armed ourselves, and so we had to work out some mechanism for bringing about the downfall of UDI, and that mechanism, if it was to be effective, had to be an armed one.
This is the Rhodesia Broadcasting Corporation.
Listen what women are saying about new cold water Omo.
It's fantastic. Just
There's a lot of living to do, with a lot of pleasure for you.
Half-hearted economic sanctions by the outside world allowed the whites to believe that it could be business as usual. But the guerrilla armies were growing in strength and efficiency. One of their fighters, a school teacher, gave his reasons for going to war.
And what do? How do we correct it? We have spoken, we have addressed meetings, we have even gone to the United Nations. Our leaders have. They've gone everywhere. They've gone all over. They've been to Britain. They expressed their opinions about the sufferings of their people. They went to the United Nations. They sought all means, possible means of solving the problems. And nobody bothered to listen. Nobody bothered to care about it. And what do? We can't remain as we are. We can't remain with that 10 acres allocated to my family. It's too small. Why do we deserve that one? We have to correct it. We have to correct this situation. whether by suffering, we have chosen to suffer.